The World Series, a trophy every Major League Baseball player hopes to hoist above their head at the end of every year, as well as a ring to place upon their mantle. I'm sure most of everyone can name some key players on every World Series team they've seen play. The 2023 Rangers had Corey Seager. And Adolis Garcia. The '09 Yankees had Jeter and A-Rod. And the 2015 Royals, with 25-year-old Salvador Perez, Eric Hosmer, and Lorenzo Cain. These players contributed greatly in the regular season and postseason in order to lead their team to a World Series victory. But I think there's an aspect of the 2015 Royals specifically that has been overlooked and will most likely not be acknowledged by future generations. And these players should be recognized for their efforts. That's the Royals bullpen. The 2015 Royals' top 5 relief pitchers pitched 307.1 innings in the regular season and posted a 7.9 WAR, 2.46 ERA, with 290 strikeouts combined. This is extremely solid from your top 5, and definitely played a huge role in the Royals' 2015 victory. I mean, let's compare their bullpen to the team they defeated to win the World Series in 2015. The Mets' top 5 in their bullpen had a combined 3.8 WAR, 281 and a third innings, 3.10 ERA, and a 284 strikeouts, which is also a very solid season, but not in the same realm as the Royals bullpen. So, who are these top 5 relievers, and what are their stories? When you think of a way to end one's career, winning the World Series in the last year would be an amazing way to go out. I mean, I'm sure Kevin Kiermaier could tell you that. The former Rays outfielder ended his career on one of the biggest juggernaut teams we've ever seen in the 2024 Dodgers. And although I'm sure he wishes he could have contributed more, he got his ring. This, unfortunately, is not the exact path Franklin Morales went down in 2015. Morales pitched for 8 years before 2015, starting his career at 21 years old, spending 4 years with Colorado. He went to Boston for 3 years and won a World Series in 2013, but only accumulated 1.1 WAR in those 8 years. After a poor age 28 year as a starter for the Rockies, Morales didn't get any major league offers in the offseason and signed a minor league deal with the Royals going into 2015. It wouldn't take long for Morales to get the call from the big league club as he made his Royals debut on April 13th and made an impact early. Morales entered the ninth in a blowout game against the Twins and finished the game with a clean inning. This capped off a 7-game winning streak the Royals had since the start of the season. The first game Morales entered for the Royals ended up being the last of their strong start, but not the end of their winning. Morales went on to not allow a run in his first 6 appearances and didn't allow more than 1 run in an outing until May 6th, the Royals' 27th game of the year, where he allowed 4 runs in the 7th against the then Cleveland Indians. After this small blow-up, Morales wouldn't let up more than 1 run in an outing again until September 11th against the Orioles, where he let up, you guessed it, 4 runs. His shaky September ballooned his ERA a smidge, but he had a strong season overall as the Royals' 5th reliever in their bullpen. A 3.18 ERA in 62 innings with an 0.8 WAR in 41 strikeouts is very solid, and any team will take that kind of production. Unfortunately, Morales seemed like some sort of a liability in the bullpen during the postseason. But he still helped bring a ring to KC, and nobody can take that away from him. In the next offseason, Franklin signed a 1-year, $2 million contract with the Blue Jays, who his team just beat in the championship series to move on to the World Series. And unfortunately, after suffering a shoulder injury in April that sidelined him for 4 months, Morales never pitched in the MLB again. Stopgap is an interesting way to describe this next player, especially because Kelvin Herrera in 2015 was not a temporary solution to a problem at all. He was just put in at whatever time whenever the Royals needed him. Now, I'm sure you could say that about most relievers. That's kind of their job. But relievers are put into certain situations because they're employed to get outs in said situations. Kelvin Herrera was put into high stress situations when the Royals' high stress relievers weren't able to pitch that day. And what did Herrera do in those situations? He dominated. 2015 was Kelvin's fourth full season in the majors and is one of two homegrown talents out of the 5 relievers that will be talked about today. Herrera had the most innings out of any Royals reliever with 69 innings in 72 appearances. And like the other homegrown talent on this list, his 2014 season was much better than his 2015 season. In 2014, Herrera posted 2.9 WAR with a 1.41 ERA in 70 innings with 59 Ks. 2015 Kelvin Herrera wasn't bad though, a 1.5 WAR with a 2.71 ERA in 69 innings with 64 strikeouts. And unlike Franklin Morales, Herrera showed up and showed out in the postseason, sporting a 0.66 ERA in 13 innings en route to the 2015 World Series. 2015 Kelvin Herrera didn't give up more than 1 run in an appearance until August 2nd and had a 2.12 ERA going into September, which just shows how his entire season was dominant. After his World Series win, Herrera had another dominant 2016, but seemed to only be able to find success in Kansas City. 2018 was Herrera's walk year, and the Royals traded him to the Washington Nationals halfway through the season for 3 prospects that never panned out. In Washington, Kelvin had a 4.34 ERA in 18 innings, which isn't an amazing season, but his reputation was good enough to sign a 2-year, $18 million contract with the White Sox, back when they were good. Unfortunately, his 2 years in Chicago were not good at all, and the South Side released him in the COVID-shortened 2020 season. Kelvin hasn't thrown a pitch in the majors yet after. Ryan Madson was the second most valuable reliever in the 2015 Royals bullpen, which was a shock to me and a huge reason for me to make this video. Why was this a shock? Well, I always knew Ryan Madson as a Philly, and he was a really good Philly. Drafted by the Phils in the 9th round of the '98 draft, Madson made his debut in '03 at age 22 and pitched with the Phillies until his age 31 season. Madson posted an 8.9 WAR, 3.59 ERA in 630 innings with 547 Ks and 52 saves in his 9 years in Philadelphia. But I, and most others, know Madson for his 2008 to 2011 seasons, when he worked as the setup man for Brad Lidge, who was a very good closer for a long time. Madson was known as the bridge to Lidge, and in those years it was believed that if you were losing going into the later innings against the Phillies, the game was as good as over. Unfortunately, 2011 would be the last season for the back of the pen tandem that was Ryan Madson and Brad Lidge, as Lidge had his club option of $12.5 million declined after his shaky 2011 season. and retired after a really poor season with the Nationals. For Madsen, there was allegedly a long-term deal in place for him by the Phillies, but after they signed Jonathan Papelbon to a 4-year, $50 million deal, Madsen had to take a 1-year deal with the Reds. This marked a bad stretch for Madsen. He tore a ligament in his elbow before spring training of 2012 and needed Tommy John surgery. In the offseason, he signed another 1-year deal with the Angels, but he never threw a pitch for the Halos either. Ryan Madsen went unsigned in 2014 and looked to be on his way out, when he signed a minor league deal with the Royals in 2015, like Franklin Morales. Madsen made his Royals debut in the first game of the season, when he entered the 9th inning to finish a 10-1 Royals win over the White Sox. This 2015 season was one of Madsen's greatest career years, with a 2.13 ERA in 63 innings with 58 Ks and a 1.8 WAR. There was one thing that really separated him from the other two relievers we've covered so far, and that's the September numbers. While Morales and Herrera saw ERA jumps in the month of September, Madsen saw progress. In 13 September appearances, Madsen let up a single run in his first game of the month. An 0.75 ERA in the month of September changed his season stat from 2.58 to 2.13 in just 13 appearances. That is pure dominance. Ryan Madsen went on to have a couple of very good years after his World Series victory for the A's and the Nats in his late 30s, and ended up calling it a career afterward. But who would have thought that an unsung hero of the 2015 World Series winning team would be a man who hadn't pitched in the MLB for 3 whole years? What an amazing story. When you search up the name Wade Davis, Google shows you a Canadian anthropologist, and not the best reliever on the 2015 Royals. Or does it? Maybe Wade Davis the anthropologist and Wade Davis the reliever are the same person. Maybe while Wade Davis is spending time with indigenous groups in the Amazon in order to understand their culture, he's also perfecting a nasty slider with real tree tar to gain more movement. Maybe while in the bullpen, Wade Davis is presenting his anthropological findings to his fellow relievers. Wade Davis is the same person. I swear it's true. Conspiracies aside, I made a video highlighting Will Myers, and Wade Davis made his On the Bump baseball debut in that video. One of my all-time favorite seasons to look back on is Davis's 2015 season, and he single-handedly made me remember all of the anthropologist's accomplishments on my high school anthropology test because they have the same name. Thanks, Wade. But since I already talked about Wade Davis in a former video, I'll encourage you to check that one out, and I'll rattle off his 2015 stats instead of going into his entire backstory. An 0.94 ERA in 67 innings with 78 strikeouts and 17 saves. Wade was worth a 3.5 WAR, making him the 4th most valuable player on the entire Royals roster in 2015. Very impressive, and one of the most underrated relief seasons ever in my opinion. Davis continued his dominance in the postseason, letting up exactly 0 runs in 10 innings to help Kansas City win it all. After his victory, Davis would make his way to the Cubs and Rockies, where he'd have some good years before calling it a career in 2021 with the Royals. 10.3 WAR, 141 saves, and a World Series ring is nothing to scoff at for a very solid MLB career. And Davis will always be one of my favorite relievers. Bet you can do that, anthropologist nerd. After hearing how amazing of a season Wade Davis had in 2015, You would think he would have been the Royals' closer, but he wasn't. That role belonged to Greg Holland. The second homegrown reliever in the Royals' top five, Holland didn't have his best season in 2015, but earned the closer role due to his previous performances in the Royal Blue. The 5 years Greg Holland played before 2015 saw him post 10 WAR with a 2.19 ERA in 275 relief innings, racking up 113 saves and 381 strikeouts. His 2013 and 14 season saw him place ninth in Cy Young voting in back-to-back years, which he also got MVP votes in those years as well. And although 2015 was a step back for Holland with a 0.3 WAR and a 3.83 ERA with 32 saves, he undoubtedly earned his role as closer for that World Series team with everything he had done leading up to that year. During the postseason, however, the Royals elected to not play Holland and stuck with the aforementioned Wade Davis as their postseason closer. Holland was then non-tendered by the club before the 2016 season and didn't pitch in the bigs until the next year with Colorado. The Royals seemed to kick their old friend to the curb after one bad season, and I can't tell if it was the right call. Because in his 1 year with the Rockies, Holland led the league in saves. Ironically, doing this a year before Wade Davis would achieve the same feat with the Rockies a year later. Holland and his agent then went on a series of horrible contractual transactions, declining a $15 million player option that he somehow got on top of a $7 million contract after not pitching for a whole year. Colorado then extended the reliever a $17.4 million qualifying offer, which Holland declined, which means the team who eventually signed Holland would have to give Colorado a draft pick, obviously lowering Holland's stock. And finally, he got a $14 million contract for 1 year with St. Louis, which is much less money than Holland had readily available to him in Colorado. To rub salt in the wound even more, that same offseason, Davis, who stole Holland's job in Kansas, signed a 3-year, $42 million contract with the Rockies as a part of their fallback plan. Not only did Holland get his job taken in Kansas, revive his career, and then leave money on the table, he then left that money to the same guy who took his job previously. What a weird back end of a player's career. The 2015 Royals were a very fun team to watch, and as much as I love the well-known players like Salvador Perez and Lorenzo Cain, relievers have a special place in my heart. I think relievers and bullpens need to be appreciated more in baseball because no matter how good you start a game, you always need somebody to seal the win. Thank you for watching this very long-winded video. I had a lot of fun researching and making it. Have a good day.